welcome to Doors and Corners, a sci-fi and fantasy film commentary podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Zach. And every Friday we sit down and watch a science fiction or fantasy film and give our 2 cents on its quality, production, story, and trivia.
We watch the film together, but without sounds or visuals provided to avoid copyright issues. But if you do have access, we encourage you to join us and follow along.
Here, we like to keep things casual, and there may be discussions of spoilers or sensitive materials or language. But we do try and keep things clean and family-friendly. Ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to create the experience of us all sitting down and watching this movie together.
So get ready to hit that play button, because we're about to get started.
Damn Doors and Corners, that's where they get you.
Welcome back to Doors and Corners. I'm Brian.
I'm Zach.
And tonight, we have what is, for me, one of the Mount Rushmore action films. Predator. The first one.
Predator. Yeah, not the Predator, not Predators. Predator.
Singular. Like Alien.
Uh-huh. Exactly. This is not a movie about like P. Diddy or anybody like that. This is a movie about sci-fi monsters. And
go ahead.
And in combination of Brian and Predator together, this movie is the reason that I got married.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I don't know. Okay, now I need to know this story.
So, I wasn't sure about dating again after a breakup a few years ago. And I told Brian that I was thinking about it, and he said, no, dude, it's too soon. And he was like, okay, you know what? I think maybe you're right. And
I remember that.
So then I immediately followed up that anecdote with, you know what I did the other day? I was really bored, so I watched all of the Predator movies. And I meant that. I watched Predator, Predator 2, Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, and Predators. And the Predator hadn't come out yet, or it had come out recently, and it wasn't on streaming yet, so I wasn't able to watch it. And Brian's reply was, you know what? You do need to start dating again.
Okay. I forgot that it was Predator. I do remember. I remember you telling me something. I was just like, you know what? Maybe it's okay. I don't remember the Predator part of that story, but I do remember. I have a memory of a conversation similar enough to this that I'm sure I'm thinking of the same one.
Yeah. So I decided to try dating again, and very shortly thereafter met my wife.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, this is one of those films that I'm not sure if I've actually listed this on this podcast before. Probably maybe we were looking at Aliens, because I have and it's hard because you always got to like make the cut at some point, right? Because if you just start listing really good action films, we could be here for hours. I love action films. I especially love it when they mix with sci-fi, but there's plenty of fantastic action films that just stand on their own. But to me, at some point, you just got to make a decision, right? Like, this is the list. I'm sticking with it. It's like Wrath of Khan's my favorite movie. I've made the decision. It's there. Plenty of movies I love, but at some point you just got to stop moving around. And my Mount Rushmore of action films has been kind of locked in for, probably at least 10, 15 years. And I've kind of like decided, like, despite some really good movies happening in the last 10 years, like, no, it's the original Die Hard. It is T2. It is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it is Predator for me. Like, those are my 4. If you were like, teach a class, like, you're gonna like go to film school and learn how to watch it, learn how to make action films, learn to understand how they work, what makes them tick. Those are my 4. And what's funny is you've got 2 legendary filmmakers there. You got Spielberg and you've got Cameron, and then 2 by John McTiernan. We mentioned this. I'm not sure if we mentioned this during the recording last week, or if it was just when we talked a lot before we started recording. But he's like, this amazing director who unfortunately has had some personal issues, and not every movie he's made is amazing. But I would fully accept other people having other answers to that. But anybody who wouldn't say that those four aren't masterpieces of the action genre, I would challenge and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I love the fact that 3 out of 4 of those are, in my opinion, genre movies. So, it works.
Yeah, because you and I have very similar tastes on that. They aren't one-to-one. I personally think that despite like how good Die Hard is and how good Raiders of the Lost Ark is, I feel that they actually both followed the same pattern for me. Not the sequels to those, but actually the third ones are superior films. So my type of Mount Rushmore like that is Aliens, Terminator 2, Predator, and there are I do them by era because I feel like Captain America: Winter Soldier deserves to be on that list, but it's like that's from such a different era that I can't sit there and stick it on there. Where I would put like Last Crusade and Jurassic Park on there.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, I would, this is
and
definitely.
Die Hard with a Vengeance as well.
Yeah.
Personally.
Well, also John McTiernan. He came back and directed that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's definitely funnier. I think strictly under the definition of an action film, for me, and this is personal. I mean, this is very opinionated, so there's not a wrong answer here. But for me, Die Hard is such like a distilled, stripped down, nothing else. Like there's no fat on that movie at all. It's just Bruce Willis trapped in, like, invented the genre in a way. The whole man.
Yeah, it really did.
And it's just it's one of those where I would totally accept the argument that With a Vengeance is a better film, but there's just so much more going on, and Die Hard is so just like pure,
lean.
It's just dude in a building with terrorists. That's it. I mean, it's a movie that does not oversell its elevator pitch in the least, but executes it perfectly. Anyways, I mean, we could talk about Die Hard for a long time, but it's
Dude, we could.
Aliens. We recorded Aliens. That movie's amazing. You get into the '90s. You get into things like The Matrix. You get into modern stuff.
The Matrix is an honorary 2000s movie to me. Genuinely, I put it in the aughts.
It really, well,
it's just ahead of its time.
There is that. What's weird for me is like most decades, I think of a decade and I realize that I think of this in movies and music and fashion, that when I think of like the 90s, I think of like 94 to like 2003 is like, I can see, like in my brain, it's like it's still 90s because there's like some bleed over. And that's, again, this is entirely my own brain. This is not, I'm not trying to make an absolute statement here, but it's true for most things. I think of like the 60s, I think of late 60s, and the same with all of them, 70s, 80s. For some reason, like I think of Die Hard as an 80s movie, even though it's, I think, 91.
It's so funny that you say that because I think of when I think of decades of movies, especially with action movies, I tend to think like 1 year into the previous decade because it feels like stuff that happened in the 90s decided what happens in the rest of the next decade. Specifically, for example, I for some reason can't help but think of Die Hard and Batman, the 89 Batman, as 90s movies. Because that kind of like was the beginning of the 90s movie to me. Whereas with like the 2000s, I think of The Matrix, even though that was 99. And all that, because it just kind of set the tempo so much for the next wave of movies. And then Avatar in 2009 and The Dark Knight in 2008. Yeah. It's just this weird thing in my brain.
Well, it gets down to just how our brains kind of naturally organize and compartmentalize things because, I could see that. You're definitely you're not crazy. Maybe a little bit, but not about that. But anyways, it's it's all right. But there's so many great action films, and the nice thing about action films, I feel like, and Last Crusade, by the way, I love Last Crusade. It's maybe
I genuinely believe it's the single greatest action adventure movie ever made.
It's really good. You know what it is for some reason, and I don't know why. I tend to, if there's a certain, this is totally arbitrary in my head. when a movie crosses a line with the quantity of humor it has, it tends to be, because every movie I just mentioned has some amazing jokes. Like all of the four, I mean, Die Hard is legendarily, funny with Bruce Willis and his sarcasm and his little cheeky one-liners. Aliens has some hilarious little points, even though I didn't put that on my, like all these movies are, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Harrison Ford is hilarious. But Last Crusade is like much funnier to me. And with a vengeance, especially with the Sam Jackson interaction with Bruce Willis, like way funnier than the first Die Hard. And it modifies it in my brain somehow. I don't know why, but it makes it a little bit less of like an action film. Like, I think of John Wick as a modern example because it's so just stripped down to just like a dude performing action to kill or maim other people. Like, it's just like, and Raiders of the Lost Ark is so much about like indie punching Nazis. As much as that happens in Last Crusade a lot, it's less focused on it because it's like the relationship, because you got Sean Connery. It's weird. I'm like thinking through this and like processing it out loud. There's you have Sean Connery, you have this like this foil and this thing to bounce off of your main character, and with a vengeance, the same thing. Sam Jackson comes in, and they're both fantastic, and the chemistry is there, and they're very, very good. But most of, all four of the films, I believe, I'm trying to like think if I have a weird exception. T2 is probably the big exception because obviously Arnold has, the kid with him. That they're the main characters a little more isolated. Although in Raiders there is Marion. As I'm saying this, I'm like realizing there are holes in my own argument, so I'm just gonna stop. Anyways, I love those movies.
I get what you're saying there, but the thing is, I think part of it for me and this movie that we're watching tonight, Predator, is a little bit of the exception. Is that I think of action movies as being intrinsically tied into humor, and that action comedy is almost the baseline of the best action movies. But you have to also think of the action movies that I grew up on, that I attached to as a young man, which was The Mask of Zorro, The Mummy, Men in Black.
Those are all great too.
Things like that, which just, I love those movies so much. The Mummy is like the baseline action movie for me, in addition to growing up with the Indiana Jones films. So I get what you're saying, especially since I've gone back and seen more 80s action films that are a lot more reserved in its jokes, like Wrath of Khan and Aliens and Predator. But my baseline for a good action movie is that I'm laughing too.
Yeah. Oh, and that's, and that's the thing though. I think one of the truly great things about film is that there's so many great examples, and even within the great examples, there's like little, if you have a preference for this, or you're looking for a little more of this and a little less of this, you can find fantastic examples of, all the individual, this is that's not a weird analogy, it's a perfect analogy actually. It's like cooking. You can have the same dish, but I'm going to put a little more of this in it. I'm going to put a little more of this in it. I'm going to tweak how I bake it just a little bit. Like you can, how many variations of hamburgers are there? And I love a freaking good hamburger. But you can...
I don't like the tall ones you can't fit in your mouth.
Okay. But you know what I mean, right? Like you can... There's so many... there's so many good examples of variations when you have really talented... And there's a bunch of mediocre slop out there, right? But there's so many good examples of like driven, talented people who like, I love that. I want to do that, but I'm going to tweak it because I'm going to do this and this, or I'm going to do this and this. And depending on your individual tastes, you can kind of dial in on like, that really nailed it for me because of the, and that's awesome. Like that's truly something. This film is something where I can totally get behind like the some of the best examples of diversity that exist, because there's so many good examples of so many variations of almost every genre. And I love that.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly agree.
But anyways, this film, and before we start recording, I'm even like, we shouldn't do too long of a pre-show because, it's been a long week and we got a lot to do. And here I am. But this movie is this is phenomenal. This is one of those, we'll talk about it as we get into it, but there's like multiple genres at work happening in this movie. The pacing, the vibe. This is think this is one of the best Arnold films ever.
Yeah.
He's the best Arnold movies are the movies that work for. So as somebody who loves Arnold, he's not, some amazing actor. He's a performer who's really good at certain things, and when he's in films that play to his strengths, he's great. And this is like one of the best examples I can think of for a movie that plays to his strengths like perfectly. And his whole team is fun too. Carl Weathers is amazing in this.
Love Carl Weathers.
Jesse Ventura in his. I mean, he's great. Who's the guy who became a writer?
Shane Black.
Yeah, he directed the fourth Predator, the Predators, or the Predator, or whatever that crappy.
Yeah, and
one
I'm
was.
not forgiving him for that either.
I know. Yeah, didn't he do Iron Man 3?
He
too?
should have known better.
Yeah. Like he's a semi. I mean, I think he's been overrated as far as writing, but he's not a bad writer. He's done some good stuff too. But anyways, there's like his team is good. I forget the guy's name that plays. Is it Billy?
Bill Duke. No. Okay, you're thinking of a Sonny Landham.
Yeah, he's like they're all great. I mean, there's the one guy Poncho who doesn't have a lot to do. Unfortunately, he actually survives.
He's the sacrifice.
Yeah, but he survives like twice as long as like half the rest of the team. And then I forget her name that plays the gal they rescue.
Yeah, Anna.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lot to do, but she has presence. There's not like any weak. Like I said, the guy who plays Poncho is probably the weakest, and there's nothing negative there. He's just kind of unremarkable. But it's just, man, this movie. This is a movie. When we sat down to record, I was like, we don't even need like an excuse for a podcast. You just say, let's watch Predator. Be like, yeah, I'm there. Any excuse to watch this movie, I am down.
Right.
I've seen this movie probably 20 plus times in my life, and love it.
Yeah, we should get started.
Yeah, why don't you give us
have
those
lots of stuff to stay on it.
Sweet deets.
Sweet deets. And what we have here is Predator from 1987. Rated R, thank goodness. 1 hour and 47 minutes long. Directed by the impeccable John McTiernan. Written by Jim Thomas and John Thomas. Yes, they are in fact brothers. And sadly, they also wrote Wild Wild West. I don't understand. Top cast, of course, is Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, Bill Duke, Jesse Ventura, Sonny Landham, Richard Chavez, Shane Black, as well as Elpidia Carrillo, and the Predator himself, Kevin Peter Hall.
Awesome. The Kevin Peter Hall's, yeah, he's the guy in the suit. Because didn't they well, let's talk about when we get into it.
Let's talk about that.
Who is the he's like the. Is there an older guy that like talks very briefly to Arnold, or am I imagining that from like a later?
Yep. No, that's in this movie.
Okay, but there's, I mean, gosh, how many lines are in this movie? How many like iconic Arnold lines are in this? And
Stick around.
The how it should have ended for this is
wait,
also...
no, that was Commando. Oh my god,
the stick around's in this.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's in the beginning.
The one we stabbed the guy in Commando.
I forget what he said, but this one definitely, it's funny, a lot of people don't realize, a lot of the one-liners that are famous from this movie are actually from before the kind of the main, where they're being hunted by the Predator. I mean, they're being stalked by the Predator from the very beginning, but a lot of them's from the village assault at the beginning, so. Mm-hmm. All right, let's hit that play button in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yay!
20th Century Fox.
So this movie actually has an incredibly well documented making of and behind the scenes, which just added to so many fun, like learning fun things about this movie. I went down like a research hole on this, and this production was a disaster, but it's one of those beautiful disasters where things just came together. One of the most controversial pieces of this movie, and I actually do kind of agree with this, is this very beginning.
I was going to ask you about that. I've heard both people about both arguments. That why would you?
How do you feel about it immediately revealing that it is in fact a science fiction movie?
I personally come down on the side that I don't think it adds to the film. I just think part of it was they didn't think about film the same way back then. It was like, who cares? I think it was one of those that in the marketing, it was just given away immediately.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just part of me loves the idea of those movies that doesn't quite tell you everything.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a genre surprise. I think about I showed a friend of mine Terminator and Terminator 2. She didn't know anything about the Terminator movies. She didn't know that Arnold Schwarzenegger was a good guy.
Well,
in Terminator 2. And they hide that fact.
Not to say that was preserved, unlike, what was it, Genesis, where they give away that John Connor is a Terminator, like in the previews?
Yeah. Everything about Genesis is a disaster.
Yeah. But no, the only reason why I'm not like a hardcore, like, they screwed it up. Like, I agree, it would have been better if they had not given it away. But they keep so much of a mystery about the Terminator, about how he looks. They preserve. I said the Terminator. You were talking about the Terminator. Sorry, the Predator. They preserve enough in this film that there's still the reveal of him when he takes off his mask and you first see him uncloaked. About 2/3 of the movie. That kind of stuff helps, and so since the movie preserves enough of that type of mystery, I'm not like as angrily adamant about it in this film as I would be in some other movies. Man, this whole opening though, just the way they introduce these guys, where they get off the chopper, the music playing, the wide shot of the chopper with the sunset and the guys hopping out here like this. It's just slightly saturated. You can see the film grain on it. It's just, I love everything about this. Sorry, if anybody's here looking for us to criticize anything about this movie, I'm sorry. You're not going to get it from me. I don't know about Zach.
I'll find something.
Yeah. I love that these guys arrive in like, one's in a suit, one's in like sweats. You've got Arnold just like in a red polo shirt, just chilling.
Business casual.
And I feel like the Predator theme doesn't quite get brought up enough in the kind of 80s and 90s.
Silvestri.
Oh man, it's so good because the whole Terminator, dun 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 dun, gets that gets played a lot. I think that the Predator theme is just as good.
Just as good, yes, but more difficult to like hum. Okay, it has a theme.
Yeah,
but it's a hard theme to be like, oh, that's Predator. Because it's really good, but it's not as like tonally iconic.
Yeah, I think that if you play it, you instantly are like, that's Predator. But you're right. Like it's not as simple. It's not as stripped down as Terminator or Jaws or even Star Wars or Superman or Indy. But I mean, so Pat, who's a frequent guest on this podcast, Zach and I all played a bunch of a game called Ghost Recon Wildlands back in the day. Loved that game, and they had a Predator like little special event that popped up for a while on that. And when you were close to where the Predator was, they hit the music, and to me that was just like that sold it more than anything. When you heard that music cue hit, and I love it.
That was such a great DLC. That was such a great event.
It is cool. Of course,
terrifying.
The most epic handshake in the history of film coming up here, bar none.
Bar none.
Just like,
you son of a bitch. Like, this is a meme that I still see everywhere to this day. And this whole like competition that they've got with the grip strength and whatnot, it's one of those things. It's not really feigned. Okay.
Oh yeah.
These guys were competing with each other
while
on
filming
set throughout the whole movie.
They were in the gym every day while they were filming this thing.
But everybody thinks of Arnold as a lifter. The dude was a prolific runner as well, kept him lean. And Carl Weathers gave this interview where he's talking about just like he'd go in and lift in the morning, and then Arnold would be there lifting, and then Arnold would come back at night and lift more, and then run like 5 miles a day. Dude was just an absolute beast, and he would compete with Carl Weathers and Jesse Ventura like crazy.
Well, I feel like this era too for Arnold was just kind of his peak in a way, because he had been acting long enough that he definitely improved his acting since the Conan days and Commando and some of the early stuff. But he was still Arnold.
This was around the same time as Commando, but Commando was intentionally meant to be hammy. That's one of the things a lot of people forget about that movie.
Okay.
You look at the opening credits with him and like the little girl, and they're feeding a deer together. It's intentionally meant to be ridiculous, so his acting is a little bit more ridiculous.
Okay.
I genuinely believe this might be one of his Arnold's best performances, and he's also a lot more physically lean. Yeah, he's muscled to hell and back right now, but he's actually smaller in this movie than he was in almost any of his other major action movies.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to present himself more that way. He one of the reasons he took this movie was because he saw it as an acting challenge where he wasn't just big dumb guy with a gun. They actually worked to make sure that the climax of the movie involved him being tactical and smart. And the beginning is about him being a leader who's not interested in just going in and killing.
Yeah.
And it's very against type.
But I think this was peak Arnold, where he was, through a combination of choice and his own, growing talent, that he was both. He was an amazing physical presence and just, action star. I'm not going to say he's an amazing actor, but he's an amazing action star. And those are two different things in my mind.
He's a performer. I think of The Rock in the same vein.
Yeah. And this really, because you have it here and you get into the, T2, and there were some lesser known films, as you get into the 90s, but also still just like, it was just a good time to be an Arnold fan. You think of him in the context of the 80s, but I think him getting into what he was able to do in the late 80s and into the 90s was also just, there's some really good stuff in there.
Yeah.
This whole opening though too. I love the red inside the chopper, but then the music, and it's very Vietnam-esque, obviously. Even though this is supposed to be South America, right? I believe they're in.
It is supposed to be South America, and they filmed in Mexico. Now, one of the really interesting things here that I like about this movie is that before you even have these guys deliver dialogue, it gives little nods about kind of who they are. They have, Mac in the back, Bill Duke's character. He's laying back. This guy's putting on his war paint. The other guy, he's doing his chew. And they have that moment where Poncho throws something at Hawkins, and Hawkins catches it without even looking, and then looks up and gives that Joker smile.
Yeah.
And it's so good because Hawkins is so like scrawny that you don't really believe that he should be with this team, except that you already can see that he's smart, he's perceptive, he's fast, just in those quick moments.
Well, I think this is a really efficient film in that it does between what it shows you and what it tells you through the little bits of dialogue. It's establishing that this is a group of very competent men. That they're not, and this is back before this was more well known. Zach and I both know people in the military. I was in the Army briefly. I was not in any kind of high end unit, so I've never claimed that. But I met people who were, and I had very close contact with people who were, and just had the honor to meet them. And Zach has a close friend who actually is also very tied to that. But it was a widely held belief that kind of, special ops guys and tier 1 guys they all were like 80s action stars. And they're not. They're actually a bunch of chill dudes who do not look like, shaved head Army dudes. Most of your tier 1 guys are pretty laid back, pretty chill. Most of them look much more normal than you would think. And not that this movie by any means represents that, but this was one of the first films that I can remember where you're really you're in an elite unit. I mean, you call these guys, a fictional tier 1 unit, but they don't look like skinhead Army guys. There's diversity, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But anyway, go ahead.
One of the reasons why that's done is because this is one of the first movies where they actually sent a bunch of the actors to like a training, like a boot camp, to really acclimate them to, and they have the advantage of Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
You know about Jesse Ventura, right?
Oh, yeah, he was a SEAL.
He was a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And he hams up his performance in this, but apparently he was incredibly helpful with being able to provide some kind of instruction and suggestion on how they should be acting and working.
Yeah.
For those of you who are unaware, Jesse Ventura is the gentleman in the hat with the
chain
with
gun.
the chew holding a frickin' minigun, which no human being could ever actually.
Also, the size of his backpack,
Yeah.
he'd run through that ammo in what about 5-10 seconds?
8.
8. Yeah, they're at range. But yeah, I mean, this movie I think was one of the first films that started down the path of, and I'm using air quotes here on a podcast, I know, a realistic tier 1 unit.
Yeah, that needs big air quotes.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's very fictionalized. It's a sci-fi movie, but these guys are actually an interesting, diverse group of guys who just, they're competent. They're not just, I mean, yeah, when they attack the village, it's a little bit insane. Like that actual action sequence is super Hollywooded up. But a lot of the stuff where they're just in the jungle, I find to be a pretty good example of guys who are looking around. They're very alert. They're very aware. They're not just stomping through without any kind of care or worry. Even to be at the beginning here, where they're, they have no idea about the alien stalking them.
Yeah.
There's a competency. I'm going to keep coming back to that word. They're a competent group of people, but that's part of the genius of this film is that I love that the rope actually has things for him to grab and pull himself up. I hate it when guys climb half-inch rope. Anyways,
I will say that one of the things that bothers me about this movie, in terms of its like tactics and such, is the hip firing.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like
I mean, that was just
so much hip firing. In
I
this
think
movie.
people just expected that though to a crazy degree back then, and I'm glad that that's gotten better. Like I recently saw The Accountant 2 with John Bernthal and Ben Affleck, and they had an action sequence where they're both using ARs, and they're just like the movements. I mean, John Wick obviously demonstrated that a lot too, but just like people using rifles, or in a not realistic, but in a an actual gun handling way. What was I going to say though? It's I totally lost my train of thought. Anyways, I love this. I like the group here. I like the way they go through the jungle. I like the fact that they are you can see the beginnings of trying to be more realistic.
Yeah.
I know that like military guys love this movie too, which like to me, even if they can tear it apart, if military guys and guys at that level love it, then that to me is like a good endorsement. I love Billy's. He's got the shotgun underneath his. He's got the shotgun underneath his. Arnold's got the 203 underneath his.
Arnold's gun is actually like it's not even technically an M16. It's an AR-15 that's outfitted to look like an M16.
Well, a lot of these prop guns, right? They had to use civilian versions, and of course you got to have the obligatory MP5s. It's just,
dude, so many MP5s. At least they're not like the super girly MP5s.
With like the front
cut down MP5Ks, single point sling, dual wielded type of thing.
Yeah.
For anybody curious about what I'm talking about, go watch the movie The Losers. You have a moment where a guy has these just stubby little guns, and they're trying to make him look all badass, shooting them at once, and it just looks girly. Not the respectful type of girly, the shitty cut type of girly.
Oh, now I realized what I was saying. The biggest thing though that this movie takes the time, and I really appreciate that, is it takes the time to establish that these guys are very good, and it even has the entire thing where they just demolish, the guerrillas at the down at the village coming up here in a little bit. To do all that, and then wait till that happens to let you see the Predator so easily take out the first few, and then progressively he has to work a little harder because these guys do learn and adapt, which I appreciate. And then ultimately, obviously, Arnold is by himself and defeats it through learning and growing. But by taking the time to not just tell you these guys, a lot of movies I think they just say, oh, these guys are special ops, and then they just proceed to murder them all. But they never actually show any kind of competency. They don't bother to demonstrate that the guys you're about to kill are good. You just tell it, and you expect people to just buy that. I think that this movie, one of the things that makes it effective is taking the time to, one, let you get to know these guys a little bit, let you, care about them a little bit, get invested in them, but also show how incredibly deadly they are against other humans before you then show how ineffective they are against an alien predator. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You say that, and the first thing that comes to mind is the words SG-2.
In Stargate?
From Stargate, because they're supposed to be like top tier 1 going out onto alien worlds things. Any other SG team that's not SG-1 gets their butts handed to them and have no idea how to fire a gun properly.
Yeah, they're all red shirts. There's the one guy like survives for a while. And then in Atlantis, you always had Lauren, who was like the one guy outside of Shepard.
I liked Major Lauren.
Yeah, he's like one random extra, like competent guy.
And they give him some character development later.
Yeah.
But this whole skinned alive thing, or not skinned alive, but the skinned bodies, this is iconic in its own way. It was very shocking for the time. Yeah. Not the type of thing you would see very often.
Well, that's why this movie is, along with being a great action film, is definitely some horror thriller aspects to it, like well done horror thriller aspects to it.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of how it all works. I mean, you got this opening sequence, the stalking, the pacing is actually in many parts of this much more in line with a thriller than an action film. And then when he does, when the Predator gets some of these guys later, and you see like, we gets this, I forget which one, he like grips the spine out, and it's like, oh man, it's just rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even here, I enjoy the fact that they're taking the time to kind of, evaluate, look around, see what's going on. Showing obviously here that Billy is the most competent tracker, but they've also showed. I get Hawkins and Poncho mixed up. I feel bad. I think it's Hawkins who they've also shown is a
Hawkins
very good.
Hawkins is the younger, Poncho is the older.
Who has the glasses? That's
Hawkins.
That's Hawkins. Okay, so Poncho is shown to also be a pretty competent tracker and aware of what's going on too.
Yeah.
He's the one that he has the grenade launcher, doesn't he? In his back, like he's got like a big pouch backpack thing. He's got like one of those drum mag grenade launchers.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. That's a pretty cool weapon in and of itself. It's I know what it's called. Don't tell me what it is.
Here's our first little glimpse of the
crap. I'm just gonna have to look it up.
For the era though, the both his cloaking, the little shimmering of his cloak, and then of course the very famous now Predator Vision.
Yeah. Very famous Predator Vision, which they didn't expand upon because I didn't tell you this. Do you know my introduction to the Predator series?
Like one of the bad
first
ones
time
again?
I ever saw Predator.
You keep getting introduced to like franchises by the bad one. Oh yeah, that's right. You told me this last week, but go ahead and tell the audience.
Alien versus Predator. Alien versus Predator.
The first one, the one that is somewhat okay.
It's not a good movie, but it's a fun movie.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it being one that you enjoy.
Yeah, and so I love the Predator in that thing. I think he's great. He's the best part of the movie, the main Predator there. Yeah. And they go through like 3 or 4 different Predator visions. And then I played a Predator game, and it had the same thing. And so I didn't know that the first 2 movies, it only ever shows you the heat vision.
Well, this
that's
and
just
then
how they see.
But then when he takes his helmet off, it is different at the very, very end. It's like he doesn't have the filter on. It's just kind of all. I love this moment here where he turns around and the guy's like just right there. He's like, "You can get us killed, dude."
Yeah. it's
a scary really quiet, and that you believe that this guy means what he's saying here. That is not a veiled threat. Like, I will absolutely leave you here.
This man is unhinged.
Well, and even him, whoever was like, we're gonna give you like some cheap, crappy Bic razor, and you're just gonna be dry shaving in the background for like the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, what an interesting choice. Like, whoever was like, that's just... Because you're not even really sure what that symbolizes, but it's very effective in making you go like, all right, this guy's got something going on. Like,
Yeah. I love this scene. The way that he just slides down the hill. Like, it's so good. And I know that part of it's sound mixing, but you believe that he's moving that quietly.
Yeah.
Um, and this movie was so hard to shoot because it was all on these rolling hillsides. Do you know how hard it is to set up proper camera establishment
Oh yeah,
in this type of terrain?
it's a nightmare to film this
Like, there's a
thing.
reason so many of these movies that do this type of stuff will film on sound stages.
Yeah,
Uh,
but there's also like there is no mistaking this for an actual jungle. I think that there's definitely been some incredibly good examples of soundstage work that do like Fangorn Forest in Lord of the Rings. They did such a good job
Mm.
of that,
Yeah.
but it's rough.
Ooh.
But there is something about just the denseness and the fact that this movie is very good at not making you think like you're just retreading the same set with some trees moved around, because it's not.
Yeah.
They're moving around, and even here, like they're all crawling. That's a good shot right there.
It is. Dude, okay, so did you read um about Sonny Landham, the character of Billy?
Uh,
Did you read about him?
you know, I've done a lot of behind the scenes reading of this film, but not for a while. So go ahead and refresh me.
So this guy, they really wanted him for this movie, and he's like one of the most influential characters in the entire series at this point. He's the entire reason why the movie Prey exists, going back to the Native Americans,
Yeah.
because he gives a little bit of his own kind of Native American lore on the thing. And but the actor, it was part of his contract that he had to have a bodyguard. Um, and that was not to protect him. It was to protect everybody else from him. He was a very rowdy individual, a very temperamental man.
And aware of it, it sounds like. That's good.
Oh no, that was the company's contract.
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah, it was his agent, I think. But I love that scene of the guy's hand going over the tripwire to the claymore.
yeah.
'Cause that'd be hard to spot. And they do a
Oh.
really good job showing like the diffusion of it. It's basic.
But I mean, the what these guys have, they're not the quietest here. But it also is if really basic claymores, if you can spot them, they're actually pretty easy to defuse. I actually did get that far into things,
Yeah.
and it's but yeah, you're right. Spotting a tripwire, and this is one of such the Arnold solutions to this. Like, this is what I'm gonna do instead of just kill this guy that's right here. I feel like he had to show off,
Yeah.
just a little bit. Like
Oh yeah, they need to make it fun.
I'm gonna lift
They
the
need to
truck.
make it interesting.
Oh yeah, and that's where I feel like there's that mixture of this is still an action film of its era and having a good time with it, but also there really is a bridge here between like classic 80s but also modern, and like we were talking before we started recording of kind of bridge films where you kind of can see an era starting to shift, and I think this is one of those films that you can see the beginnings of what we were going to get in the 90s in this film.
Yeah.
Not all the way.
But
I mean,
this
it's
is
still
also like a pretty-
still very much 80s, but it's
Yeah.
got some. And go ahead.
I like this plan where he does that, and like he puts the bomb in the back. It would be a good distraction.
Oh,
very
100%, 'cause-
unrealistic, but from like a tactical perspective, I'd be like, yeah,
Well, everybody
why
would be
not?
looking at the truck. I mean, which is totally realistic. It's the whole Arnold picking it up, and rolling it because he's Arnold. He's got to do that. Outside of that, it actually like using something that people naturally look at vehicles. There's a reason why cars are good distractions, or like you make noise by throwing something. People are very predictable, honestly.
yeah.
Lots of the great explosions with the guys flying. The sound
do
of this
that, and-
minigun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
It's
it's a thing of
iconic.
beauty. It's just
This is also one of those miniguns where it's like it doesn't do the spinning up thing first, because there's this whole thing about miniguns like spinning up in movies, and and especially in video games because it helps nerf them for the user, and especially in multiplayer.
yeah.
But miniguns don't spin up;
No, they have no
they
need
immediately start firing.
to. Yeah. why would they possibly need to start spinning up? Like, ooh,
They did a lot of this practically as well. You can see it, but even like they had guys up in trees just falling onto bags with pyrotechnics going on in the background. And I'm talking like 20, 30 feet up. Is really cool.
yeah.
Um,
That's a great, just like
this
those,
right here.
yeah. So one of those,
You
one of
know,
those like iconic shots of two where you're underneath and they kind of fly over you. It's a very 80s and 90s shot. It's just, but it works. It's just one of those cool action movie shots. There's also
I just
too the
wish they
thing.
were shouldering their rifles.
Oh yeah, the whole, well, and Arnold
Just
not
don't
only
know.
from the hip, he also does kind of like he thrusts his gun out when he shoots, and
Wow.
it's just like annoying.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, this is the one, especially. Like this guy falling from here. That you have behind the scenes footage of that guy. Of that shot anyway, where you can watch them filming it, and the dude's like in a tree 30 feet up and they're getting the shot with pyrotechnics.
Wow.
It's not even used in the movie. But dude just had to jump off this tower like 6 times.
yeah. Well, you can
Yeah.
you can tell like back then this was dudes with squibs, and you got a lot of propane and diesel, bombs, and
Yeah.
air mortars and stuff, right? There we go. Stick around.
To go out.
It's
Yeah,
great.
perfect. Yes, perfect.
Yeah, no, there's
Um,
definitely but that's where, maybe because the 80s stuff, knock knock. Oh, that's good. The 80s stuff, this is a weird thing to say, but it's kind of balanced.
What?
And so it's not as over the top as some other, like your so something like, I think of like some of the worst examples of like the older, some of the later Rambos, and some of the Chuck, as much as I love Chuck Norris, some of the Chuck Norris stuff, and some of the Jean-Claude Van Damme
Oh
stuff,
my God.
of the 80s. When I think of like 80s, I think of, that kind of stuff. And this movie is very toned down in terms of the cheesiness from that level, and
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It maybe not toned down. There was restraint shown. They didn't
That's
just
a good way to
go,
put it.
yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
man, I feel like there was just also, they probably didn't need to keep making the guys look like they were sweating, because they probably were sweating this much in real life. They didn't need to like,
Yes, it was
they
very
didn't
warm.
need to go up with them with spray bottles, and make it look real. It's like, no, they're just all sweating all the time.
Right? What were we watching recently where it just seemed like everybody was wet the whole movie?
Ah, here we go. Ain't got time to bleed.
I do
So
like
many
that they
good
at least
lines.
had one of them get hit. Like it would seem almost too incredulous that they're just like, oh yeah, we can do
I love-
anything, we're fine.
I do love that one shot there too, where he just like, the debris is coming down, and he just kind of smiles, like, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That's the way a lot of them are that I've met.
Oh yeah.
Former SEALs and such. They just something goes boom, something that other people might scream at, and they're just like, heh. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Would not want a man like Arnold mad at me,
No, goodness no. It is interesting that they add this kind of extra layer of, oh, there was actually like a betrayal here. There was a secondary motives and things like that.
Well, it's also interesting, the idea that his team had to have been like manipulated a little bit, or else they wouldn't have come. Like, they would have had a choice. Like, his team's at a level where they don't just, go where they're ordered. They actually also have some kind of independence, which is an interesting idea.
Yeah,
Like-
well, they're
like-
not military. They're mercenaries.
Yeah. I guess so.
No, that's
Maybe
like blatantly stated.
okay.
They're mercenaries.
But they're like-
they're a
they're like-
search and rescue mercenary team.
Okay. Maybe it's because they're like, the respect he has for the general at the beginning. Obviously,
Well,
these guys are all former
it
military.
does imply that they're former military. Or
Yeah.
it doesn't imply. It flat out says that they're former military. Dutch and Carl Weathers here, their characters served together in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So they're all former military, but now they're private security out on their own. They're a specialized search and rescue team, extraction team, stuff like that. So that's very set up at the beginning
Yeah.
of the movie.
I love that with Jesse Ventura, they got his arm bandaged up there.
Mm.
Also, too, just like the different, like the change in demeanor with the whole team. You can tell they're relaxed. Arnold's kind of, he's let he's unzipped his shirt. He's got his cigar going. He's got his arm dressed up. There's just like you can tell that they're not completely letting their guard down, but that they feel like, all right, we did what we needed to do. We can relax a little bit. And
Carl Weathers told a story, late great as he is, told a story about how this movie is what got him addicted to cigars. He never touched nicotine. He never touched any type of cigarette, because he's big fitness guy. He was freaking Apollo Creed, and but one of the things that Arnold brought to the character was his love of the stogies. And he's like, "You want one?" And he kept turning him down, and then he finally gave in, and now he smoked them a lot up until his death.
And Carl Weathers is man. I wish he got a little bit of like a resurgence at the end with like his Mandalorian, and I feel like there was something else that he had done somewhat recently.
Well, I mean, he was on stuff like Toy Story 4. I remember he did a voice in that.
Yeah, I mean, he's an actor who I feel like kind of fell off for a while, and I wish that because he's got good comedic chops too. Like people know his fun little turn in Happy Gilmore with a hand and some of that kind of stuff in the 90s. But he's somebody I wish had been able to stay a little more active, because he's a great actor, and he has a lot of range besides just being an action guy.
And he was getting into directing. He directed 2 episodes of The Mandalorian. He was really proud of it. He wanted more. There was also something else. Did you know that he played the role of I almost said Carl Weathers. Did you know that he played the role of Dylan again in 2015?
Like in a game, or?
Yeah. Specifically Mortal Kombat 10.
Okay.
So the Mortal Kombat games have had this thing where they have DLCs of special characters. They've had Terminator, Rambo, RoboCop. Right now they have Homelander and Omni-Man in the new one, as well as a couple others that are notable. But they had the Predator in there. But what comes with those is other characters will get special skins, right? And one of the characters, Jax, gets a Dylan skin. And his voice changes to Carl Weathers, who delivers all of his over-the-top lines.
Nice. I knew that Mortal Kombat did a lot of the other characters. I've seen them pop up in YouTube shorts and stuff like that, like RoboCop and Terminator and stuff. But I didn't realize Carl Weathers was one of them. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, again, they have the Predator on there, which is of course voiced by I almost said Alan Cummings. That's not quite right.
He's Nightcrawler.
The Optimus Prime.
Oh, yeah,
Peter Cullen. Yeah, Peter Cullen. And so he voiced Predator, but yeah, they had like when RoboCop came out, they had the character of Sonya Blade. She had a skin for RoboCop's partner, whatever her name was. So they'll do things like that, nice. And they'll get a lot of the original voices back. Arnold did the voice for the Terminator. Stallone did the voice for Rambo when they had him. Peter Weller came and did the voice for RoboCop. All this stuff.
Nice.
The first time you see the Predator.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of the? I always thought it was interesting. The like he's replaying like recordings of like them talking, like he's just learning and studying them.
Bird whistle. It's a duck whistle.
Okay. It's interesting too because there's definitely the idea of the predator wants the hunt, because in some ways, especially when you've seen the movie a bunch of times, his abilities, like he could have killed them all right there pretty easily if he had wanted to, but he wants to enjoy it. He wants to relish taking his time, and that it says a lot. Like you're actually. The Predator's character, in a weird way, is like being revealed in how he behaves also. And I like the fact that without any kind of dialogue, without any... Like, this is a movie that is very good at showing a lot about a character without really telling you anything. If you're just paying attention, like the movie will give you a decent amount to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an arc that is just, it's not, I like it when a movie does that. I mean, you could definitely make it, too drawn out or too obtuse, or you can be too kind of beat you over the head with it. But I like that if you're paying attention, it's, you're learning this as a hunter. I mean, and I know that the characters do say a few things about it. I also, sorry, quick side note, I love that they acknowledge that even for guys at this level, walking through this kind of jungle sucks.
Dude, it's the worst. Have you ever hiked through a jungle, like an actual rainforest?
I've never gone any kind of major distance where there wasn't like a somewhat blazed trail that you could follow. Because when there's not a blazed trail, when you were having to blaze your own trail, that's just that's a different kind of suck that most people don't understand.
Yeah,
you go on hikes in the woods. It's great, but like, are you on a trail? Because if you're on a trail, it's not the same. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've gone through some unblazed areas, especially in the Sierra Nevadas, the northern forests, California, stuff like that. Like I remember just going through, taking what 45 minutes to walk off trail on like Maui. When I lived there, like just on the slopes of like Haleakala and stuff like that, and it was tough and gross, and like going through actual tropical jungle like that would just be horrendous.
Oh yeah.
And the bugs, man, and the parasites.
Yeah.
Like, and it just gets worse and worse and worse depending on where you go. You go on Maui and it's just like, yeah, it's hot, it's sticky, it's muddy, it's slippy, but you know that eventually you'll find your way out. You know, like, South America, it's
you'd
like,
be in there
this
for
is
weeks.
Mexico,
Yeah.
Central America.
Yeah.
You can be there in weeks and it's all the parasites and stuff. You get into Africa and it's even worse.
Yeah.
It's just, jungle is nothing to fuck with.
So, here, I feel like, I think other films, we would be talking about this feeling like kind of like the movie sagging a little bit. But
It's the closest thing it has to a sag.
But it's still, I think like there's enough tension going on. The predator's there. They had that little bit of her trying to escape. It gives you just that tiny bit of like something happened. And then here, just again to give you the movie using the predator vision to kind of give you that reminder of like the predator's perspective.
It's here.
Yeah, it's a little token. Yeah, it's, oh man, these guys are all in good shape. But it's I like this. I feel like there's a lot of, I'm gonna call them kids, and I'm sorry if I'm bugging anybody in the audience. 'Cause I sound like an old guy. I am an old guy compared to you guys. I love this kind of pacing. But I definitely could see some people being like, all right, can we just like get to the next, action scene or something?
Where's the predator?
But I like this. I like that it's taking its time. They're telegraphing her, that she's gonna mess this up.
Yeah,
freaking arm.
She's the problem.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Because she's, like showing that. But the way that he's walking here, I mean, I get it. He's Arnold. Dude is a beast. But very unactual special ops the way he's moving here. Just walk out.
Yeah.
Gun at the hip.
His hand looks almost like improperly small compared to the rest of his arm.
Man, look in his eyes there.
Yeah. He was obviously an actual Native American. They were starting to move past the times when they were just dressing up a white dude as a Native American.
Yeah, I'm glad. It didn't give it. Nobody's pretending here to be something they're not, ethnicity wise.
Yeah, she's so huge. Like he makes Arnold look small sometimes.
Yeah. Well, he's tall, right? I mean,
very.
He's probably like what, 6'4", if I had to guess. Because Arnold's not like short. Maybe he's taller than that. I know that people
Arnold's only like 5'10".
But I mean, like, that's like when you say only. I mean, he's not short. Like that. That's the.
Oh, 5'10's tall. 5'10's tall.
Yeah. Because what is the
Okay,
average?
5'10" is tall.
You know what I mean, though. What is the average at 5'9" for American, like North American males or European males? It's
Yeah,
like
I'm
5'9"
5'9",
or 5'8", something like that.
which is why 5'10" is tall.
Yeah. Anyways, Arnold is not Tom Cruise short. Oh,
No,
you can tell that wasn't a real stick the way it broke.
yeah, just a wee bit. And then here we have our first casualty.
Yeah. And
So
it's
they actually had a whole bunch of ideas for Predator weapons that they wanted to incorporate into this film, but budget, time, restraints, whatever, couldn't do it. But they ended up using a whole bunch of them, especially in Predator 2 and the first Alien vs. Predator.
well, yeah,
They
because
got
they
really shown
other
off.
than his wrist blades, they didn't get much. But I know that like a lot of the bladed stuff they really got into with Predator later. But
Yeah.
so this is I think this is like really effective. I love the in the glasses here. Just the idea
Yeah.
that I mean it's a little janky, you know, his cloak there, but just like the blood, it's a good first
Yeah.
a good first kill.
Yeah.
Like
One of the things
the
about
effects
this,
work showing its age a little bit. I will give it that.
I still think it's good. I still think it's good.
Yeah, I think like
Um,
the way it interacts with like the boot and stuff, like the wide shots where he's standing, I think look good. It's more of the
Yeah.
when he interacts with something, it shows a little more of its era.
Yeah. So they actually brought Shane Black in because they wanted him to work on the film, and he's like, "No, I don't have anything to add to this movie." And they specifically hired him because they were hoping that he would add to it on his own
Did he end up?
and would just be like, "No, not really." Apparently, a lot of the rewrites that happened on this movie ended up just kind of being thrown out. They had to do some last minute, kind of on the spot redesigns. Do you want to talk about the original Predator?
We can talk a little bit about it. I actually, so that one, I mean, I know they wanted Jean-Claude, right?
Oh no, they had him.
Yeah, I mean, but like that was the idea, to have the Predator be much more of and have him be more of a ninja kind of thing, right? They wanted somebody who was really athletic, and but go on,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've read it more recently than I have, so why don't you go ahead and give us the synopsis?
There were two major issues. One, the creature looked ridiculous. Two, Jean-Claude Van Damme was in the height of his Coke era. Well, I
It's
mean,
80s,
that
man.
was kind of Street Fighter the movie. But he had like a major issue with it. And the suit was uncomfortable, hard to work in. It didn't look good. They were gonna comp it with something a little different, but on set it was just like this red thing with a beak, and she looks like such a child in that shot. It's
Yeah.
creepy, but they it was just impossible to work with. Apparently, they got the costume in a box at one point, and the director looked at it once they put it together, and he went, "My career's over."
Mhm.
Like, this is the stupidest looking thing in the world. And they had to rush completion on the Predator's final design, which they did through Jim Henson's Creature Shop. And they ditched Jean-Claude Van Damme, and instead they actually found the guy I mentioned earlier, Kevin Peter Hall. He was just like a waiter. Oh no, wait, that was the guy from Alien. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was saying, wasn't
come on.
he wasn't Darth, was he?
No.
I'm thinking of somebody else. I thought he had one other role where he played somebody very tall, because he's a tall dude.
Oh yeah, he did a few things like that. He was actually an actor, and but he did a lot of stage stuff. He did a lot of performing, but this was kind of his kind of movie breakout. Dude was 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And he was the only one, especially in the padded suit that they had him in for the Predator, that made him the like dwarfed Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Well, they
Um,
needed somebody, especially for the finale.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was in a number of TV shows and little things. He played monsters. Predator was the big one.
No.
Um, Unfortunately, this is just really sad. He died of AIDS that he contracted through a bad blood transfusion,
Yeah, I do remember reading about
a
that.
contaminated blood transfusion. Um,
This is a good
but
tracking
yeah,
shot, by the way. Just like having him walk off and then pan up. This is one shot.
hmm and just the little bits of blood all through the thing and the runoff, and you can see a
Oof.
little bit of the tube in that one shot, but it doesn't matter.
But you can
You
like,
barely
but
notice it.
your imagination is doing so much work here all of a sudden for you, and then yeah, the reveal and just
Yeah, and they don't quite show everything, which is good.
yep,
Um,
his MTV shirt.
the Naked. Yep. And nobody could lift that thing. Nobody could actually fire that thing. Even just doing the blanks, you know, crazy. Um, does he die here?
Pretty no, it's yeah, it's like just a minute. You know what's funny? As much as I've seen this, there's still little bits of right here through the back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I remember that scene. Um, like this and Carl Weathers' deaths were like the first scenes I ever saw from this movie, just in like something else, like spliced into something else. And I was just like, what the heck?
That would just mess
But
with me
like,
right there though, just to see the eye flash and just the
mm,
oh. What's funny
yeah.
is
And it's just
go
you
ahead.
really see him lose it.
Oh yeah, you see the blood there on the leaf already.
uh,
You got him. Which I appreciate that they do have them wing the predator. Like I'm glad that
yeah.
even though they obviously get this guy is an emotional wreck. You can tell he already was pretty messed up.
Yeah.
This whole thing, these
Um,
guys just but I'm glad that again they do get the predator a tiny bit there
yeah.
because again he's a competent dude, and I'm glad that they he even though he obviously didn't kill him, that there was it feeds again into a little bit the idea that these guys are not idiots. This whole sequence though, just
Yeah.
that of them all shooting and just the whole jungle. I'm glad they show some reloads. I mean, even though
Dude, what are we
they're
shooting
still
at?
firing way more than they should. It's just a
So
good
much more.
scene. This is such an iconic scene. None of them would have any
Mm,
ammo after all this.
right. One of the things I saw an interview with Bill Duke about it is that it made him appreciate set designers and set dressers so much more because he's just like, oh, we did that. We had to do that like 3 times, and so we do one take, and I'm just sitting there firing off these blanks as they've got all these explosions going. And he said that it was a remarkable experience firing blanks like that out of that
Oh
gun.
yeah.
And then he just goes back to his trailer. Arnie goes back to working out, and the set dressers rebuild the jungle.
Oh.
Like, it's nuts.
So in a scene like that, is that chain gun actually like on like a prop of some kind that's being hidden? And he's shooting it? Is that how they're doing it?
I'm not actually sure of that. I think that it was just like a different gun mocked up to be one. So it was lighter. Let me see if I can find information on that. Maybe like IMFDB or something has information on that.
Yeah, man, Mac is just like he's one of those. He doesn't get as much, I feel like, credit from the 80s and 90s, but he is.
Mhm.
He has such a distinct face. His eyes are so just like get you.
Yeah.
He had a couple notable roles, obviously, but dude was just a. Oh, I feel like an idiot. I'm blanking on the guy's name.
Bill Duke?
Bill Duke. Yeah, he's like, I would call him like I don't mean this as an insult to him. Like you're really good like B+ guy from this era. It was never an A-lister, never. But when he showed up, it was like, ooh, you were gonna get something good.
Yeah.
Man, the knife he's
Weirdly
got on
enough,
his.
I always remembered him from X-Men 3. I think that was the first thing I ever saw him in, was X-Men 3. and not great. I genuinely thought he was dead. Like
Oh,
I thought he died like
I
4 or 5 years ago.
if you had
But
asked
no, he's
me,
alive.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah. I think the only one who's died besides Carl Weathers is Sonny Landham.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, he still acts a lot, just a little character actor.
Yeah.
Um, shows up in things now and again. Um, setting up some
He's
triple
got.
A.
I do find it amusing that he's looking like right down the barrel of that thing. As he sets it. That's not what you would not be like staring. Like your face is like in the thing as you're setting it up. Oh gosh.
I don't know. I've seen him do some pretty weird things. Like when they're confident. Let me tell you. Um, soldiers get weird
They do.
especially special forces, when they know that they can do something.
Yeah. Man. So it's interesting. You were I've have you always seen this movie where they've kind of I feel like even like the 4K versions of this movie they haven't done the stupid AI thing where you scrub it and you get rid of all the digital noise and or sorry, digital noise reduction, but you get rid of all the film grain and you make it look, weirdly smooth and clean because I think that this is one of those movies that really does kind of need the grain. I think there's some older films that
Yeah.
you can get rid of it and it actually works fine. I know it might be heresy to some people and I'm sorry. But this movie, I feel like does need it, and the jungle is a big part of it because you need that texture on the leaves and everything.
Yeah, agreed. Because there's like some video games that'll have film grain and you can turn it off, and I hate the film grain on it. Mass Effect 1 comes to mind. It's so weirdly grainy.
Yeah, they went a little overkill on that.
Yeah.
Of
Trying to be
course,
kind of 80s set guy.
yeah, of course you got the flask.
I saw somebody on TikTok absolutely insist that these characters were gay.
Whatever.
Yeah, they had like a whole rant about hidden gay messages in uh old 80s movies, and this was one of them. It made me laugh.
I have no doubt that there's occasional stuff here and there, but there's also just back then like you could just be bros. You could just be like guy friends. Here you go. Here's the first. It's a big deal here.
First reveal. Yeah, we get to see it in all of its fishnet glory.
Yeah. Oh. Well, and interesting
Like,
too. You get the mixture of like the armor and his actual skin.
Yeah.
Oh
And you're
man,
not even sure which is which at this point.
yeah. It's got this interesting like. All right, he's always shot, and it's not even like
Paint
fish.
sprayer?
Yeah. Ooh, this thing just looks like what is that?
Yeah.
Ah.
Like that's
And
the first little glimpse you get of it.
yeah,
Is
and
it screaming like that?
I love how fast it is though. Just that quick little, just giving you that little bit,
Mm.
and that's where they slowly show you it more. They should those slowly. I mean, they showed you a lot of it right there, but they do a good job of giving you those teases. But when they do finally show it to you in all of its glory, when it decloaks and comes out of the water, like that shot, when he's
Yeah.
up, all covered in mud, like that's such a good shot. And obviously they've shown it multiple times before then, but where you really kind of get to see it just standing there, completely, decloaked, it just looks good. And even though you've seen it already, you feel like you're seeing it for the first time again somehow.
Yeah. And then my phone is blowing up right now, and I thought that, oh no, something's happened, and my wife's trying to get a hold of me in the middle of the podcast, and no, she's sending me pictures of kittens. She wants me to go take her to look at them.
Don't you have like
Yeah.
5 cats?
4. But
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, man.
yeah, I did. No more cats. No more cats. I love cats. But yes, I I really love the design of the Predator. It's one of my favorite alien designs ever. I've seen people talk about how it's racist because they blatantly described it as being based after like Rastafarians that they'd met, with the dreadlocks and the fishnets and everything.
Did they?
And
Was that even worse than in Predator 2, where they actually have those as like the villains?
yes,
Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
Um,
This is another one though too, where
yeah.
they I think that the movie needs this lull where you let you have the fact that Predator got injured,
Mm,
and I think that there's they don't that you have to kind of put this in there yourself, I guess, but it works for me. The idea the Predator's like, okay, they actually did wound me. I'm gonna pull back and take a second. They're not helpless. He's probably like both encouraged, but also like, all right, he's gonna be cautious again because he took off. I think he was, he's not an idiot. Obviously, the Predator's not. And if he had stayed right in front of them, he absolutely would have been killed right there. He's not immune to weapons
yeah.
fire.
I
And
really
you
like that they didn't go for some sort of like fully armored thing
yeah.
that would be like really difficult to kill. It genuinely shows that like this thing could be vulnerable.
Oh yeah. Well, I think right away that they show you that if you could catch it and I mean, if you could unload a full mag of M16 in this thing, you would probably take it out. But getting that opportunity is incredibly difficult.
Mm.
And
Cheaters, pumpkin eaters.
but it does also, I feel like, subtly display how important getting to shoot first is. Like there is, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
one of those. I've had people who don't really understand what they're talking about talk about, oh, the element of surprise is not that big of a deal, and as a small force, there's no way they could actually take out a much like. I don't know. You underestimate having the element of surprise, getting the drop on somebody else, even if they're very good. Like what a multiplier that is, what an advantage that is. Like that swings
Yeah.
things so hard tactically that you can be the best guys in the world, and if you are caught by surprise, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, it's pretty nuts. Um, I like that it triggers
Well, they're in the jungle.
that
Of
they
course,
have this scene.
there's animals
Yeah.
running around.
I know, I really like this because it's this oh my gosh, they got it. There's this whole thing going on and no.
That's a full-on horror shot too of like the knife, going up and down with the blood.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain I've seen that used in like horror movie compilation things.
Oh yeah. Max, so like, got you.
I got you.
Yeah,
He's
you
so
got.
satisfied.
Yeah, man, killing a pig like that though would still be like a pig like that in the jungle is legitimately
yeah.
dangerous. Those things will
No,
mess
just
you up.
pigs in general are dangerous. They are terrifying animals. Like, for anybody who doesn't know, all pigs, any pig you see, has tusks. They get them removed, and especially in order to make them kind of cute or not tear things up. They are incredibly smart. They're incredibly vicious. And they're like, especially in swarms, they're insane how dangerous pigs and boars are.
Yeah. Here, I love
The
that.
interesting thing about like the predator taking the
It wants its trophy.
bodies, it wants its trophies.
Yep. It wants its trophies, and the idea too that establishing, that it doesn't actually. It's interesting because they showed it on the ground when they all opened up on it, and Blaine winged it, but then
Mm.
maybe it's the idea too. The predator is learning also, and the idea that no, he stays up. The predator no longer
Yeah,
like you don't see him on the ground for quite a while. He stays up in the trees, but also that it
Yeah.
shows these guys realizing that quickly. This is I mean, not that this movie is devoid of them making some questionable decisions tactically. You already brought that up a little bit, and that is true.
Mhm.
But you don't have any like gross incompetence in this movie just to make the plot happen. There's
Mhm.
definitely some movies,
Yeah.
even movies that I enjoy, where the plot is advanced by just otherwise smart characters doing stupid things.
Yeah. Like Kirk should have raised shields.
Yeah. Oh yeah. As much as
Why
my
did
favorite
he-
film ever made, it's a weird decision. It's like, what is the harm? There's no downside at all,
Yeah.
other than another captain maybe teasing you a little bit, saying like, a little skittish there, Kirk. I mean, that's literally the worst case scenario in that situation.
Yeah. Like,
It's interesting that like Carl Weathers is like still questioning somehow. Is he just say like in denial because he's in some kind of shock, or is he actually, not believing somehow, which is weird. Oh,
yeah.
and they have established
I think
that he and Mac specifically have a little bit of extra animosity.
Yeah. Well, Mac's crazy, and this guy's like a traitor. And, what was my thought there? I think that he is just one of those guys who has trouble believing in anything he can't see.
Yeah.
Um,
Its blood was on the leaves. Yeah. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
There it is.
Good old-fashioned Claymore.
Mm.
Claymores are simple, but dang, they're effective.
Yeah. Terrifying.
I
Those
mean,
of you unfamiliar with a claymore, you have about 1,000 small ball bearings, and there's 100. It's steel ball bearings and 1 pound of C4 in a shaped charge designed to create just a cone of death.
Yeah.
Anything
in front of it for like 25 meters is dead.
You're totally right. I did not realize how long the character of Poncho lives.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely thought he was the first to die. Not Hawkins.
Yeah. Hawkins goes, and as much as like, nothing against Shane Black, he was my least favorite character. Just the sexual crude jokes was just like annoying to me. But
yeah,
it's like, all right, I'm good. Hawkins is not Hawkins. Poncho is kind of the unsung. I feel like just that man. They're all in such good shape.
this shot.
Oh my gosh.
Like, can you get more gratuitous than this? I also love that detail. The one guy on the ground, though, bracing underneath the rock as they're pulling that down.
Yeah.
Like, that's a smart move. Or I'm not going to say smart move. It's just, I love that flavor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nifty flavor.
It's one thing, too, where there is a, what do you want to call it? I love that. Yeah, and even here, the tactics here of like, okay, let's create like first thing you do when you're like, all right, I figured out their tactics. So what do you do? Create a funnel. Like this is how to this day you absolutely do this. If you want to set up an ambush, this is how you do it. I mean, I'm not this like verbatim, but you know what I mean. Just the idea that force your enemy into a place you're expecting him and hope he doesn't notice.
Yeah.
Very clearly a blank firing weapon there, by the way. You can see how small the barrel is.
Right.
That teeny little...
yeah, like a BB gun inside of the barrel.
Yeah. Oh, man, this right here.
Yeah, this always, like... I hated this.
This
that was one of those scenes. Yeah. Like, that's one of those things that just can't be in the script. You have to just be sitting there on location, just being like, hey, let's try something.
Do you know off the top of your head how much freedom the cast had to kind of improvise and come up with stuff like while they were shooting this out in the jungle?
I don't know. Apparently there was a bit of freedom. They were able to ad-lib, screw around, make suggestions about what they thought it should do. Arnold Schwarzenegger had like a hand in the production that some people thought was maybe a little bit too much. He could just kind of force things to happen if he wanted.
At this point, he had that. He was one of the biggest movie stars in the world at this point. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he also. I mean, and I think you can definitely actors can they can become too big for their britches, but he's one of those actors. A modern equivalent I would call would be like someone like Tom Cruise that really loves film and loves the process of making movies and like wants to be involved in it and kind of inserts himself into it as much as anybody will let him because he just gets into it and he's a nerd about it, like in a good way. But also that can be an ego thing too. And I've always read that Arnold really did get into it in that way. He wanted to do more than just act. He loved the whole thing. Man,
Yeah.
this though, the whole like, is it just I'm gonna make myself bait here?
Yeah. He's gonna.
I guess he's like just try to bait him out.
He's the big prize after all.
Woo!
Um,
Don't miss that.
what do you think of Arnold reprising his role as Dutch?
I've heard that. I respect the heck out of Arnold. I kind of wish he would just be done.
Well,
Uh,
they've been wanting to bring Dutch back like in literally every Predator script you can imagine.
I would be fine with
Um,
it if he's not given if they don't try to shoehorn him into a big action scene. If it's more
well,
like just let me talk to you
you
and
don't know, do
tell
you?
I actually don't. I heard that he's involved. That's literally all I know. So what do you got?
The extra ending scene at the end of the animated film Predator Killer of Killers. They had an after credit scene showing that they had the character of Naru from Prey in stasis,
Interesting.
along with all of the other ones that they had. But then
Oh,
after it proved successful, the um the animated film, they added a second one which panned away from Naru and showed the characters played by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny Glover are also there in stasis, and supposedly they are going to be reprising their roles through voice acting.
okay, through voice acting. Okay, so we're not going to get like, and this is where I'm not up on this news. We're not going to get Dutch in Badlands, right?
Not that I'm aware of. Well, I can't say for sure. But Badlands looks different, and I kind of like it. I'm into it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very unsure. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
About
having a
Badlands.
predator that actually speaks and has subtitles.
Yeah, man, I feel bad for Poncho here. I mean, one, I did love because the first time I saw this, having the Predator like appear behind him, the idea like Arnold went out and and he was right there, like coming up. It was just like it was a good like, oh my gosh, he was right there, and they didn't know.
Yeah.
Like he's again, this guy is dangerous. This guy, is the ultimate infiltrator.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, having one of their own traps hit Poncho, which then, there's other stories in, throughout history of special forces and jungle warfare, other kind of things of, the idea that if you want to slow down deliberately wounding a man, I mean, not that that's what happened here, but the idea that, by having a wounded comrade, you slow down the entire unit and make them more vulnerable because they're not going to leave someone behind. And kind of inadvertently, that's what happens here for a little bit with Poncho.
Yeah.
And plus
Mac
two,
is just fully losing it in
yeah,
this
he's
scene.
just he's just done.
Man is emotionally unstable.
Yeah.
But
This leads though to one of the best scenes. This whole sequence though, when he gets here and he ends up like they're laying down and just Max like just got that intensity and oh man, all
look at
this.
this guy. His shirt's open, glistening, dual wielding MP5s.
When you can just see like he's breathing, he's breathing for real. It's just when you
It's
were
so funny. Carl Weathers is a big dude, and you really see it in this because he makes these submachine guns look like pistols.
yeah.
You
He
know,
really does. As an MP5 is not a big gun by any means, but it's not tiny either. Yeah.
I virtually didn't know about Carl Weathers before Mandalorian. I've never cared about Rocky or anything like that. I didn't really hold. I didn't really pay a ton of attention to the Predator series before this. Before I went and watched them all several times, about 6, 7 years ago, and I went back and ended up seeing a few things that Carl Weathers was in, and he's just great.
Yeah.
Like, especially, I think this is my favorite role of his. I just think he's really good. But yeah, I wish he'd been a bigger star.
Yeah. I mean, he was a decently big star, but he always was playing second fiddle to guys like Arnold and Stallone and those guys. and he absolutely could have carried something big on his own. I fully believe that.
Yeah.
This whole sequence though too, and kind of them, kind of the we have a mutual we're just focusing on this guy, so it's all business now, but it's all at the same time understood that we're just here to kill this thing. And it's just letting these guys have this Angus is not super dragged out, but it's enough. Also, too, this is the first we haven't seen the infamous now the 3-dot thing. They don't drag this out, but at the same time they give it enough where they kind of let these. I love that none of the characters they manage to kill all of them in slightly different ways. Right? Like there's you have the one off-screen death. At the very, very beginning, kind of that, just the blood on her, and then you have, Jesse Ventura through the back. And they managed to give each of these guys a death that is some to greater degrees than others, but memorable deaths.
Yeah, I especially remember Carl Weathers and I almost said Ace Ventura. Oh man, that one. Oof. That.
Well,
it's like they just
right
filled a water balloon, or it's like they filled a watermelon with stuff and just blew it out,
Yeah. Well, right into the camera lens. It's just like his foot's still twitching and just.
Yeah.
And it's sad because it's like just right there. He had no chance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Alan Silvestri did the music here. That little like urgent tone. That reminds me so much of the movie Signs. Like the main theme to the movie Signs is like that motif.
I haven't seen Signs in so long. I don't even remember the music of that.
Oh, great movie. Like genuinely really good movie.
I wonder here too. Sorry, just like looking at this like with Carl, if you would be feeling, it would be odd for these guys to be dealing with. You are on this. These guys are apex predators, right? All of them on this planet. These guys are about as dangerous to human beings as you can get, and to genuinely be dealing with for the first time in your adult life. Feeling like I am so vulnerable, like I am so weak in comparison, would just be such a. And I feel like, without saying anything out loud, some of these guys are kind of dealing with that in their faces a little bit. I almost feel like Carl Weathers is getting a little bit of that here. At least I'm projecting a little bit, but I like that because it's interesting.
I think that there is supposed to be like a very humbling aspect, especially to this moment with all like the fear and seeing in his eyes and everything like that. That they like kind of linger on it. Yeah, I always remembered that one with like
well, his fingers,
hand still pulling the trigger.
Oh yeah, but he's still like swings around his other one.
Yeah,
and this is our
but scenes like this, they're actually using the original model, not the new one. They're actually using the Van Damme model in a lot of these scenes because why bother, right?
Yeah. Okay, what do you think of what Billy does here? As far as, do you take it as an acceptance, or do you take it as a macho thing, or kind of the psychology of Billy's actions here? How did you interpret this when you were watching it?
That Billy's crazy. Like, this is one of those things where, like, maybe it is just because he believes that they're already dead. This is a choke point, but also like this is something from his culture. This is something that he knows about, and he wants the chance to prove himself. Against it.
That knife, by the way, is epic. Like, I'll take that over Rambo's knife.
Right? Like, I have the Rambo knife from Rambo 3. My grandfather bought it because he thought it was just a cool knife. And he sharpened it. Thing's razor sharp. I have it by my bed in case somebody wants to come say hi in the middle of the night. And it's an impressive knife. But if I could get this thing or like a Crocodile Dundee knife,
No.
I'd give that one up.
What do you think of this happening off screen though? Also, just like you just hear that and move on. You know, I feel like there wasn't a way
like
that. Yeah, I'm glad too. I'm not sure how you could have done like a fight justice without it coming across as, I don't know, kind of hokey. Like it's just
That was exactly my thought. I feel like of all of the characters here, he would be the one to be able to do that well enough. And like you'd really give him a hardcore fight in that moment. But run, get to the chopper. Sorry, I had to interrupt.
It's such an iconic
I
line,
think
though.
that I think that it makes a lot more sense to do it off screen because it could never live up to what you want it to be between those two.
They did have the moment there where Arnold had just, I think, like and he like yelled at her no when she went for the MP5. He had just kind of realized, like, wait a minute, maybe there is a connection here with he's not gone after you, or had they already said something? Am I forgetting or just getting myself?
We might have talked over it.
Sequence.
I can't remember if they already said
they mentioned like he didn't touch you because you were unarmed.
Isn't she also supposed to be pregnant?
I think that might have been like in a script somewhere. I don't think the movie ever.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, yeah,
dude, this freaking fall. They actually had a guy go over a waterfall. Like this scene right here.
Yeah.
Like,
they did not fake that. That is a dude just like, all right.
Dude.
Oh,
and they had to
man.
get like a muscular dude dressed as Arnie and like just jumps off that thing. Really good cut there that makes you believe that he's actually underwater. Obviously, they just filmed him in a tank.
Yeah.
And then cut him in.
Going down like that though on a
that
waterfall, that would be, man, it's dangerous. The
you could see from the motion blur that was composited.
Yeah. But so I mean, but it's still well done. I mean, you're never taken out of this where you like don't think that this is really. I mean, probably the most unrealistic part of it is how clean the water is at times.
So, is the character of Poncho dead?
Well, yeah, because he got shot.
Did
he
get hit in the head?
Yeah, because remember, so they heard Billy scream. They're waiting, pointing their guns down the path, and then from the side he shoots Poncho in the side of the head with his. So actually, Poncho is before Arnold. Poncho is the last. He's the last man standing until Arnold.
Yeah,
he's actually the last one to die. Like you don't think about that because he's wounded, but he's not as memorable. But he's like, I think I like him because in some ways, he's like a lot of special forces teams have guys like that are just kind of quiet guys in the background. They're kind of unassuming. They are dangerous people. Like, do not underestimate them.
Yeah,
and I just like that. This though, oh man,
deeply dangerous men. Oh yeah, this is such a good scene because like they have this moment where he's crawling in the mud, the creature's following, and it's such a good way to like key him into the weakness of the predator. Like they have him going for his sidearm, he's braced, and then glory shot.
Yeah,
he gets to see what he's up against.
He does, and I love the fact too that just Arnold is just like he really is. We ready to just die here. He's just like, I got nothing left.
Yeah.
But
genuinely though, like this is one of my favorite alien designs in anything ever. I love the Predator. I love the mask especially. I think they're great. I think they're scary. I think they're believable as something that could kill you.
Yeah.
Like I want to see a Predator go up against everything. I want to see Predator versus RoboCop. I want to see Predator versus a Terminator. I want to see Predator hunting Klingons. You know,
that would
there is a Batleth in Predator 2. Like, yeah.
And we'll talk about that when we get to it, obviously. But a lot of that was just for funsies at the end, right?
Yeah. For kicks and giggles.
Even the Predator could not kill the rat. Just saying.
It's just like, dang it, possum. Yeah.
love
Did
the-
you notice that there's a human spine
Yep.
running up the back of the Predator?
Yeah, he's just hanging there. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
he's got like a trophy already there, and
Yeah.
man, well again the tension of this scene, and then Arnold kind of like, all right, like it's got to be this. Like, what else is there?
Yeah, because
Looking
he would
back.
probably be familiar with heat vision, right? Like
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
not super familiar, but he would know about its existence.
Oh, it absolutely existed. I mean, it existed in Vietnam, and it was becoming more and more. You know, if he had access to cutting edge stuff, I mean, it was very rudimentary. It was heavy. You know, the battery packs were crazy back then. It was the depth of
Yeah.
field was so bad. But yeah, he'd be very aware of of what it is and how it works.
So, one of the things I was going to bring up probably next week, but this is a halfway decent time to do so. Why can't they make a good Predator sequel? What is it about that? I feel like this is one of those series they could just make the same movie over and over again in different places, and it'd be great, And
It would be, but
they can make it fun.
it would be, but I think you wouldn't. I think there's a couple things here. So I mean, we'll just yeah. So Predator and Terminator are both kind of victims of the same, and this happens to a lot. There's other franchises too. They're just the two that I'm thinking of right now. That you think, well, just redo this. Just like with Terminator, it's like just capture T2 again. You as much as Terminator 1 is great. Like the first Terminator is genuinely a good film, but Terminator 2 is just one of those. It's so good that it outshines how good the first one is. And this movie is just, and so you end up in a situation where you don't want to just copy it, because then it's like you got to find something to get a good director. I think part of it is you will not find a director worth their salt, so to speak, that's interested in just remaking something or just kind of doing a version of something without changing something major. Because I mean, good directors, they want to leave their creative mark on something, right? And so the people who are interested in just doing remakes or kind of just just do a different version of the same thing, you're inherently going to have less talented guys attracted to that kind of project. At least I think so.
Yeah.
And you also I think as much as we'd like to see that, you would still, if you try to do the same thing, you're inviting such direct comparisons to the thing that was so good. Even if you do it really, really well, your best case scenario, like, okay, so if you're like, I'm just going to do this again, your best case scenario is it was as good as the thing that we already did. Like, you're never going to get better than that. Like, that is the bar. You never, to make yourself stand out as something that is notable, has to be different enough to not just be, well, it's as good as the original, but at the same time, not so different. Then it's like, well, why did you even call it that? Because it's not even remotely the same thing. I don't. Sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult here. I don't envy that job, because you're trying to walk that line. You're trying to be familiar enough that people are gonna want it to. They're gonna identify it as, this is a continuation of the same thing. This has enough identifiable parts that I recognize it as part of the thing that I already loved. But it's different enough that I can still appreciate it for what it's doing here. It's a really It's a challenge creatively. Anyways.
I feel like you look at Predator 2 and Prey in particular. Like, I liked Predators, but like, I feel like that's almost an outlier.
Mhm.
It's just, I feel like you could just make more movies of like differing leads and all this stuff. And like having a predator be in a different place. So let's hunt it in the city. Let's hunt it in a time period. You don't need to have some big long running story. You can keep little threads in between. But it feels like such a strange thing where they just can't seem to make good sequels to Predator, and it feels like it shouldn't be that hard to me. And it's crazy sometimes.
But this is
and
where,
maybe I'm just overthinking it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where this is such a great, just, I love the yell. Oh, there's just something cool about it. The I said this at the beginning, and I think that this is a movie that is both one of the best examples of why you shouldn't look at franchising stuff, and also when you obviously can, because on one hand, this movie was not, to the best of my knowledge, this movie was not made with a conscious, deliberate attempt to set it up for a franchise or set it up for sequels. I mean, I don't know if they were. I'm
No,
not
I
sure.
don't believe so either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was not being thought of, and this was just treated like a one-off. But there's so much good things here that you can easily see how there's questions left. There's, okay, tell me more about this predator. Tell me more about why it's here, what's going on. There's obviously more to explore about this threat and this creature. And so it invites expansion and invites exploration of these ideas. And just like this setup is such a good, we like seeing, predator versus prey, in the more generic sense of the word predator. But this movie was good. I think one of the reasons this movie was good is because it wasn't trying to set anything up. And a good movie that's not trying to set something up will almost inherently be good enough to make you want to see more. Versus a movie that is setting out from the very beginning to try to set up a franchise. And every sequel will inherently be inviting that, because now you are into franchise territory. Now, as soon as you've made a sequel, you're now inviting, the next one or the next one. And so you only get to do it once. You only you only get one shot at the movie that's unconcerned with anything else other than itself. And after that, forever, you are concerned with world building. You're concerned with more. And so you're kind of hampered by that in a way. And people who are much smarter and much more creative than me have obviously found many ways of doing that well. There's many sequels that I love and many franchises that I love, but there's something special about the first one. And I guess that's my little spiel.
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
But this whole sequence,
I love this creature.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever read any of the comics?
I've flipped through a few of them. I've never actually sat down and read one. No.
Some of them are really good, though. Weirdly, female predators have sexy model bodies and predator heads.
Of course they do.
It can be a little strange sometimes.
Of course they do.
But some of it's really stinking good. And I really enjoy the lore. I really enjoy the species and the stuff that they do with it, and it just makes me sad that they can't seem to quite get it.
Yeah. I love this whole thing, by the way, though. It just, again, this shows that Arnold's having to get, smart, like you were talking about earlier, like tactics. He's not going to beat this thing one off. Definitely that bow did not have a lot of power behind it. But just the idea, too, that he lured it with the fire, he learned the heat vision. The idea that he kind of used the few things he had left. He had a few grenades left from his 203, salvaging that, and not the Rambo C4 tipped bow, but like an actual improvised explosive tipped arrow. That wide shot there, the predator standing there shooting up. That's so good. This is and almost like a reverse here of the predator.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, the predator's kind of doing what they did to him earlier, of just a scorched earth. I'm just gonna take down everything in front of me.
Yeah,
this sequence is good. I remember this whole part of the film being longer in my mind. Usually, every time I watch this, I'm always almost surprised by how fast this whole sequence happens. But it's really good, because you think, oh, okay, so he gets it. The predator, his cloak he managed to take his cloak out. You have this through the path, and then one last little sprint. It's really just a quick little 3-part fight. And it's good. And even here, the idea of he sees the movement, so he's not completely handicapped by not having heat.
Could you imagine doing the stunt work for this? One of the things I always wondered about this was how many days did Arnold have to spend covered in mud?
Oh, this right here.
How long did he have to spend covered in mud for this thing?
I love how vine covered this tree is, because it makes it a little more believable that he'd be able to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a gym guy. He could do this. But also the when he gets into the water, like what a big deal it is. Like, oh no, like he needs to stay out of the wet. Yeah, he needs to stay out of the water. It'll wipe off his camouflage.
I have very recently hung underneath something for a long period of time in a similar position as that, and it is tough. I certainly couldn't last as long as he did.
Yeah,
That's just nuts.
but I'm guessing that Arnold's stronger than you, Zach. I'm sorry to break it to you, but
No.
he's probably got a little better grip strength than either one of us, probably us put together.
Just a little bit. I mean, I'm proud of my grip strength, mind you, but I'm goodness gracious, that man is insane.
The old rock trick, everybody falls for it.
Right? I like the use of the heads-up display. It's not overly complicated. It's actually like deceptively simple, I guess.
He's kind of tracking here, and
Yeah,
Ooh.
like where are you?
and then
Um,
got a spear for you.
yeah, just spear throwing. I love the de-evolution of just like this is such a perfect finale for this movie
Yeah.
where he's no longer going with guns and he's got some explosives and stuff. It feels so much more mono in
Well, and they're
just such a great way.
they're finding a way to make you bleed, bastard. They're finding a way to make Arnold's defeat of the Predator possible.
Yeah, it feels genuine.
Yeah,
Where it would be so easy to not have it that way.
Yeah, it feels earned. It feels like because they managed to never ever make the Predator feel like it's suddenly not a threat. A lot of action films that are much less quality than this, they have a bad habit of making the villain that's been just this unstoppable force through some plot convenience or whatever go from being just barely able to even conceive of being able to beat this thing to all of a sudden like you can take one out. It's not that bad. It's not that hard. I'm weirdly thinking of in Buffy. Did you just steal that out of my head?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because that's literally what I was thinking. I remember the big deal of Buffy taking out the vampires.
One of the original vampires.
Yeah. And it was like, there's a whole episode, right? This whole big, fight and how she had to go out and fight it and like show the other Slayers that it could be done. And it was this big deal. And then like later, it's just like, whatever. They're just barely worse than like normal vampires. And
like she spends like a whole episode recovering from defeating just one of these things. And then they're just stormtroopers like 2 episodes later.
It's definitely a trope that's happened many times. And this does really like the opposite of just, granted, we never get, to another Predator, but even in, in the sequels, the one thing that I think they've done a good job of is even as more Predators get introduced and there's more Predators around, they never, that's a good shot.
Yeah. Oh, I love that one.
Well, and the idea here too, this Predator is like, this is personal now. Like now, like you've been, man.
He's loving this.
Yeah.
This is what a Predator lives for, which is one of the reasons why it takes the mask off. Because like if he takes the mask off, it's like this sign of honor.
Yeah. Well, he's like pissed at Arnold's character, but he also has like a respect for him. Like you've actually like he respects the fact that he's made it this hard on him. Like because no hunter wants something like you want to win, but you don't want it to be so easy that it feels like you barely had to try. Like that's not satisfying at all. Satisfaction comes from winning, but having to work for it.
Did you ever read The Most Dangerous Game?
I don't think so.
That's the one about the, guy who kidnaps people and takes them to a private island and hunts them.
Okay.
Like it's the source of all of those, they'll have like episodes of sci-fi will always have that, right? I'm going to hunt the most dangerous game and its humanity. It comes from a book called the novella, I should say, called The Most Dangerous Game. And I I always remember that because it has this scene where the hunter is talking to the guy who's the prey because he has him like over for dinner
Oh,
before they launch out to do this thing,
I love the
and
like.
he talks about how. Sorry, go for it.
No, I'm sorry. I'm listening to you, but I'm also like the design of the way his hands overlapped his helmet, and then the reveal here of the face. And I mean,
Yeah.
I love this line. Yo, one, it's delivered
Ugly
as
motherfucker.
delivered as only Arnold could.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many
It
times
looked like
has
weird
that pose been copied though by every predator? Just arms
mandible
out,
vagina face.
yeah, screaming
Do you know
out
about
like,
the mandible story?
not specifically.
While he was designing the look of the Predator, he was doing these drawings. The guy who designed it, I don't know if it was Jim Henson himself or just the um
Oh,
one of the other people. But the guy who was uh designing the Predator, because it was kind of a rush job, and he's on a plane sketching, happens to be sitting right next to the director of the movie he was just working on, a guy by the name of James Cameron. And
okay.
he's
I
talking
feel like
to James
I have.
Cameron about this.
I
He's
feel like
just
I've heard this, but
you
go
know what
and
I've
keep
always
going.
wanted to see? I want to see like mandibles. And that's where the mandible mouth of the Predator came from.
Oh, funny. I
Um,
love how they're kind of, Dutch is getting the crap beat out of him here, but they're
yeah.
the cutting back and forth, and actually most of it being in the Predators kind of overwhelmed you. Like it's effective because you're again. I've said this before, and I will say it many many times. If you can get an audience's imagination to do some of the work for you, that's one of the most effective tools you have as a filmmaker. Is if you can engage
Yeah.
the audience to imagine and fill in part of it, they'll do a better job than you almost every time. But you have to get them
Which
there.
is what they did with Billy.
Yes, absolutely. And this too, like just they haven't shown, they haven't gone overkill on actually showing clearly him getting beat up, but you can just imagine based on that sequence, and it's effective. And again, the Predator stays menacing here, and I love the swing too of, again, this is a tried and true trope where you think the hero's got the upper hand, he's gonna do it. And then it's like, oh, never mind. He actually, almost got there, but then it didn't quite. And then kind of the magic swing back. I mean, that's been done many, 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 many times. And this movie
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mess with that formula, but it nails it.
Also, like getting him into this position, you see him flee towards the trap. It's not like, oh, they just happen to end up next to it. He like lures him in.
Oh,
And I love that.
yeah.
He's like toying with the leaves, like, oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, but the most dangerous game thing, just to finish that story really fast, essentially it has the hunter tell to the prey that he felt something he never wanted to feel on any hunt, which was boredom.
Mm.
And he was hunting essentially this sailor who was stupid, and he was bored hunting this sailor, so he needed to find another person who was clever and an actual threat. And that always stuck with me on like the satisfaction of hunting. I think
Oh.
about just playing like video games, and if they're too easy, I just don't like it. But if they're too hard, I get frustrated, and there's that balance that needs to be found.
There is. Well, and there's like, and that's, man, we could talk about that for a long time. Game design of hitting that balance of making something challenging enough to be satisfying, but then also letting players have a kind of a power fantasy at a certain point. There's a whole interesting thing there about challenge, and but not too much and not too little. And yeah, but I mean the same thing. I mean it's because you want to feel like you're part of a good story, and
Yeah.
and this is a good example of it too. Like this would be unsatisfying if it was too easy for Arnold to kill this thing. It would have ruined the movie. But if he lost, it's not that kind of a movie. He needed to win, but trying to make it just hard enough. And I
Yeah.
To risk of repeating again of how amazing this film is, I think that they nailed that balance. This movie really got it right.
Very much agree.
Oh, oh, you. Well, but he's both repeating him, and at the same time, what he's saying is like he's actually asking it in a way.
Yeah.
Oh man, of course. I mean, there's so many things this movie established that just go on to become staples to this franchise.
Yeah.
Their whole language has been like kind of deciphered at this point, right?
Yeah, I think that they've codified it. What do you think of this? Like, I'm setting off this bomb. Now we both gonna die. Like,
Well,
um, it,
I
it
I
it's
feel like
kind of a dick.
it is a little bit, but I think it's the idea of like I'm never going to actually let you. I might lose, but I'm not going to let you win. Which I mean,
Yeah, I
maybe
I
not.
always thought that like maybe it was to destroy his technology. Maybe it was to like if you started running right when I set it off, you'll be fine. But like, are you truly worthy of having killed me? If so, you'll survive this. I don't know.
Maybe
I was wondering that.
I want to see. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was it does help with why there aren't why he wasn't recovered. It would definitely mess with the story here. Although the idea that this thing was a mini nuke, that was a weirdly comped Cloud, by the way. The fact that
Yeah.
Arnold's alive here is a little bit like, all right, he did not get that far away.
I mean, but I don't know if it was supposed to be nuke. Does it flat out say nuke?
Oh no, it absolutely doesn't. It's just that they used a very mushroom cloudy shaped explosion when they look at it from the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then right here, I mean, the fact that it's just like a little bit of music, you get the hero shot, and then we see him resting in the helicopter, and we get the epic music. Like this movie does. This is a lean movie for being as slow and deliberately paced as this movie is. There is like you would expect an epilogue, right, or some kind of debriefing.
Yeah, I even like straight up. I know that I want more.
Yeah, but that's I
Like
think where
I
the
want
movie
more resolution.
the movie nails it though. I feel like because it's just like nope, it works, but it leaves you wanting more. I feel like that's where this movie is perfectly fine without it, but it also would be amazing with it, which is why it is such great fodder for sequels and for follow up.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
how tired would you be?
that's for a while. I actually like wondered if they just had a still shot and were zooming in on him. Like the first time I watched it, I'm like, is that how this ends? They just have a photograph of a tired Arnold, and then his eyes start moving, and they're like, oh, it was just really still.
No, dude just needs a nap and a Gatorade.
Yeah. And a shower.
Man, this music though, it's so good.
But every
I am
single credit movie.
really
Sorry,
fast. Let me just say, I love credits that have the little shots of the dudes. I don't know why. It's just a thing for me. I like it in where they have bits of the film over the credits and then they show you the guys, because even here like these are not shots out of the movie, like these are little outtakes because none of these are actually in the film. Like right here, she just smiles for the camera, so this was all shot.
This feels like the sitcom credits.
But
I've
really
literally
love it.
seen this entire scene put to the
Oh yeah,
theme song to Full House.
I've seen that also, and I don't know why. Like, there's nothing about it that I can defend from like an artistic like. Oh, it means, and it's just a campy thing from this era. I mean, I remember
I've never seen it done on any other movie like this though.
Oh, so like Top Gun did it, and I think one of the Rockies did it. There's also been, I mean, they didn't do it with like the names, but the idea of like little bits of the film at the end of Star Trek 4 when they show little bits of the movie over the credits. It said it's just.
I guess I've never seen something so blatantly like this is sitcom credits.
Yeah, the closest I can say is that because you've never seen the original Top Gun, have you?
No,
it did it exactly the same way.
I'm straight.
Okay, dude, whatever. Oh, but it did exactly the same way. Like very much you could change the music, even though that movie actually ended to Righteous Brothers, so it didn't even need to change the music. It was a straight up sitcom at the end.
Yeah.
But anyways, I can't defend it. I just like it because it gives me the nostalgia feels.
Oh, I like it too. On this movie anyway. It's a weird flavor to the movie that just works really well.
Well, especially the for her to like just like the quick like hair flip and like smile for the camera, like, hi everybody.
Yeah.
It's like I was just in a horrible situation that I barely made out of alive, but I'm just gonna give you like this great smile I've got, and it's all good now because I'm gonna go to my trailer.
Yeah. This is just one of those movies where the thing's just a stinking mess. filming, and because there's so many movies out there that are messes while filming, and the result ends up like being less than what people wanted it to be, right? I think of movies like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen that we've gone over.
Yeah.
And this is one of those that everybody wishes their horrible messes could be.
Yeah.
Because this movie was a mess making it, but when it came out, everybody loved it.
Well, this is...
And something fantastic came out of it.
Yeah. This movie... I mean... I don't remember how big it was in theaters. I mean, rated R films, I know, have always had a little, with rare exception. But this movie, like, it was definitely like a hit. But I think a lot of people would imagine this movie was bigger when it, like, with the box office. Do you have those numbers by any chance in front of you?
Yes, I do have those numbers because it was filmed on a budget of approximately $15 to $18 million. Its box office return was $100 million.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Well, especially the ratio to its budget. But, we're especially these days, we're so trained to, it only made 500 million. It's kind of this, kind of a disappointing return. Part of it is just you don't need to spend, the budget of a film is not at all in any way indicative of the quality of the film. There are fantastic expensive films. There are horrifically bad expensive films. And there are horrifically bad cheap films. And there are amazing. And this was not a cheap film. I'm not saying that. But but $100 million is you would, I think most people, if they didn't know, think, oh, this was, this massive thing. And it must have, made hundreds of millions of dollars. And no, I mean, it was a big hit. But it made so much money back on its budget. And it also was just buzzy. I mean, I can imagine that this movie did amazing on VHS, and I'm sure when the network TV version of this movie came out, it was a big deal when it was the first time NBC or whoever got to play it, that kind of stuff, and those movies that kind of get a life of their own and kind of become part of culture, and that's the thing that you can't force that. It happens, and when it happens, you kind of you try to you capitalize it, right, if you're a company. But this movie was able to become part of culture. It was able to elevate itself out of just another Arnold movie, and I love this movie. We could literally just restart this movie, and I would happily sit back, crack open another drink, and enjoy it again.
Yeah. I kept saying Jim Henson Creature Shop, and it was actually Stan Winston.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I'm like, I thought that the Lucasfilm guy did this.
Yeah, that was my bad. Also, I was looking over some of the notes I took, and I forgot to mention stuff like the horrible traveler's diarrhea that many of the cast and crew dealt with.
Don't drink the local
Drinking
water.
Mexican water.
Oh, man. Your body's not acclimatized.
Somebody left a review of this movie pretty much saying that this is the smartest Macho Man movie ever made. And
I think it's definitely up there.
Yeah. I agree with that because it has all of the macho stuff in it, but the characters are intelligent and they're not like idiots and they're not the bad guys, and you root for them and you have reason to root for them, and I don't know.
Yeah.
This movie is like the perfect action movie to me.
Yeah.
It has everything.
My kids can tell you. I know you guys, if you've listened to this podcast, you've heard Tasha on our How to Train Your Dragon episodes, and she'll tell you that she was laughing at how giddy I was when my kids were finally old enough to show them this. That I was just like, oh, you guys, I finally get to show this to you. And luckily they all enjoyed it because I've beaten my kids into submission for having what I consider to be good taste in film, but it was just, I was so excited. Like this is one of those movies that if you know somebody's the kind of person who will like it and they haven't seen it somehow, and you're like, oh, this is something special, and you can also, as much as you can absolutely get into the sequels, and there's tons of lore to get into, and there's lots of, you can go down the rabbit hole. You can just show somebody this and be like, just enjoy this. And if you want to get into more, you can, but you can also Because there's a lot of the stuff that, like Star Trek's a great example for me. I love Star Trek, but if you want to really get somebody to appreciate it, you generally have to show them more than one thing. You have to kind of, and you have to, if you're going to show them one thing, you have to kind of explain some stuff. And, this is one of those where like, all right, if you want to, there's plenty of stuff there, but you can also just take this for what it is and just be amazed at how good it is.
Yeah,
and it holds up.
I tried to get into Star Trek, and she just, even after 10 of the best episodes, couldn't give a crap.
Yeah.
It's just like, dang it. But something like this, I feel like everybody can appreciate in one way or another.
Yeah. But I think you said it, and I know I was talking about this at the beginning. This is one of the best hybrids of, and this is definitely where I was talking about this going into the 90s. You had action heroes who were a little bit smarter, a little bit more interesting. It wasn't just, I cannot be hit by automatic weapons fire regardless of how many bullets are fired at me, and I can't ever miss from the hip in fully auto, and that's literally the plot. And there's definitely a place for that, and I have a real fondness for that, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna try to elevate it beyond what it is. It's just, it's just fun entertainment. This was the beginning of like, let's try to do a little more than that. Let's still, they're still all there. They're still shooting stupidly from the hip. They're still, still carrying a chain gun. But what if we make that not actually work for them? And what if we actually have these guys have to solve a problem with more than just lots of bullets?
Yeah, like we just outmatch them.
Yeah, it's yeah. I could. There's very few movies that I love that if somebody tried to say like, no, it actually isn't that good, that I'd be like, no. Like, or somebody says like, yeah, I just, it's just not my thing. I didn't really, it's just, there's not a lot of movies that I'd be like, no, we need to talk about this because you're objectively wrong. Like this is a movie that doesn't mean you have to love it. But if you tried to argue with me that this is not about as good for what it's supposed to be, for the genre it is, for an action, horror, tension-filled, kind of macho movie that also has a brain and enjoys some genre stuff, I would want to fight you because you're wrong.
No, wholeheartedly agree. Agree.
And I definitely think this is one of the best. The only reason why I can't just say this is the best Arnold movie is because T2 exists. So, and that's a hard one for me because I love both those films. This is definitely a tighter film, and there are definitely elements of this film that are better, but also T2 is T2. There's and Arnold,
T2 is a genuine masterpiece.
Yeah, and Arnold is genuinely amazing in it too. Like just like in this film, they're both very good films, and he's very good in both of them. So, anyways, but the good news is you can enjoy both of them.
Yeah, and I would draw a comparison between this and Terminator 2 and Alien/Aliens because of something you said earlier. There's not a moment of this film where the antagonist, the predator, the main thing in the title of the movie, doesn't feel like it's not a threat anymore.
Yeah.
Even to the very bitter end, the T-1000 feels like a threat. The T-800 feels like, or 101, I think, maybe from
800
original Terminator. T-800, whatever you want to call it. The alien in the first Alien, the aliens in Aliens, they constantly feel like a genuine, real threat all the way through the movie. There's not a single moment where you're like, easy for these guys. And that's something that a lot of these type of movies will accidentally fall into, is that level of complacency, or they'll just let the villains, the antagonist, whatever you want to call it, lose its edge in a really unfortunate way.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any...
this has been Predator.
About to say, I don't think there's any need to talk about how you would fix this because you couldn't. This is a masterpiece. There's not a single thing I would change about this movie. I mean, for the sake of argument, if you want to nitpick, I'll happily listen to it. But I think
I would replace the final credits music with the opening from Cheers, so them looking into the camera just really has that extra oomph.
Yeah. The only thing, I'm not saying I would do it because I just like don't touch it. If you said I just want to cut out the first 20 seconds that shows the spaceship flying towards Earth, I would accept that.
Okay, yeah.
But that's like the only thing for me that's like even worth having a conversation about. Beyond that is just kind of for the sake of nitpicking. I think that's the only thing that has a legitimate, like, if you went into this blind, if you had never heard of this and they cut out that first 20 seconds, I think it adds a little bit. Because if you were just like, hey, this is just an Arnold film, and like sat somebody down and never heard it, somehow like lived in a bubble and didn't know anything, I think it would make the movie a little bit better.
Yeah,
Just like
agreed.
a tiny bit. Anyways, this has been
I
Predator.
could keep talking about
It's amazing.
Predators, so
But
we're
we're
going
going
to
to be.
stop talking about Predators.
Well, we get to talk about Predators next week because it's not as good of
We
a
do get to talk
film,
about Predator next
but
week.
we do get to keep talking. We are going to jump right into Predator 2. And
Yeah, I'm so
I'm-
excited.
as much as, of course, unless you don't know, which, okay, you don't know, it's not nearly as good of a film. But I'm looking forward to talking about it and watching it very much because there's a lot of interesting. It does expand on the lore a decent amount. It doesn't do the same thing even remotely. And despite having some real big flaws, there's also some strengths to it, which we will get into next week.
You're also going to hear me rant about guns.
Yes. Which I always love it when Zach gets, rants about guns. It's always good time. So, but yeah, have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. I'm wearing my shorts on backwards by accident today.
Thank you for the insight. All right.
There's doors and corners, kid. If you don't clear the room, if you don't come in slow,